These sessions are going to allow you to be more proactive and get the tools you need to be able to be an effective leader and also really manage your organization.
So are we seeing a diverse amount of people in the C-suite jobs and the CEO?
You have to be innovative. That's another thing that many companies are missing because we're stuck in the way we do things, the way that has worked for us.
What is up, everybody? Look, welcome to your Saturday live session, right, with the Acting Lead team. We got a fire session for you today, right? And for those of you, I am on Instagram right now. If you're listening to this live, y'all come on over and join us on our Facebook group. But yeah, so this is your Saturday Rise and Fall session. We got some good stuff for you today. And yeah, so I'm gonna just open it to the floor, man. How y'all doing, man? It's out here getting chilly in Houston. What's going on?
I'm good. It's warm. It's getting chilly in Houston. Well, you know what? There was a little cool breeze yesterday. There was, and it was good. Good weather for running. But yeah, I'm good. Good. How you doing, Cyrus?
I'm good. It's getting a little chilly in Maryland. The weather's starting to change and drift south. I don't like it. But
Don't scare me away now.
it's cold now. It's gonna be cold.
Nah, I hear that. Hey, look, I woke up this morning. I was like, ooh, I gotta put some pants on in here.
Yeah, you can't wear them shorts. You can't have those legs out today. You got to put on some pants. Yes.
It's sweatpants season. So anyway, let's hop into it, right? So we want to bring y'all this leadership in the news, right? So today, I know we've been talking about like, hey man, this is some stuff that maybe they haven't been doing right. Maybe this is some stuff that we want to highlight so people don't make the mistake. But this was something that was near and dear to my heart because I'm like, you know what? When we talk about leadership, we're always talking about trying to fix a problem. Like we're always talking about what was this issue? How do we fix it? How do we get the result? But it's like few and far between where we ever highlight somebody that's been doing something great. So I want to bring up my man, Mark Cuban, right? Because he's been doing a bunch of the Lord's work, like just fire work, right? And I don't think we should skip people like that. I think we should highlight them and really show people, because if you can see what it looks like to act and perform and to do these types of things, I think it's a lot easier for people to understand what a real leader looks like. So I want to kick it off, man. I love what he's doing. Through the pandemic, he was paying his workers at the Mavs. There's the Delonte West thing going on. Like he showed up himself. Like I'm gonna start off with you, Aisha. Like what about Mark Cuban like kind of touched you? We had talked about this before. Like what touched your soul from Mark?
Well, of course, the situation with the basketball player and how he was willing to pretty much. So if no one knows the story, you have this NBA player that pretty much ended up on drugs, literally on the street, and a video surfaced on media of him, and he just he looked you can tell the weight of whatever he was dealing with, the drug abuse, being homeless. It was like all over how he looked, extremely skinny. Looked like he might have not eaten in days, and it was pretty shocking because, of course, you hear, when a lot of people think about how do you go from NBA, you're playing on this great team, to now you're in a situation where you're homeless, where you're on drugs. Like, how does that happen? And the fact that Mark Cuban was willing to step in, and this wasn't the first time, but he was willing to step in and say, you know what, I'm going to bring him in and I'm going to take care of him, get him the resources, rehab, whatever he needs, so we can take care of whatever this person is dealing with. So I think that's a beautiful thing to see, because again, when we talk about leadership, we want to make sure, and again, on the show, we always highlight what you shouldn't do. But this is stuff that you should do. We need to make sure that when we're following leaders, we want to be influenced by leaders. We want to make sure we're connecting and we are following people who are doing work to support their team members or support people that they care about, support the community. And I think Mark Cuban has been somebody that's really stand up. He spoke about social issues. He understands the power of community and taking care of people around you. And I think that's so important as a leader. And the more you do that, the more that people will trust you, the more that you're a leader, that you are looking at your team, your community, that you really seem like you care. Again, this is hard work. I know the finances are there. I know Mark Mark Cuban is making a nice bag, but essentially people trust him and respect him as a leader because the work that he's doing, not just on the field or behind the scenes on the field or off the court, it's also the work that he's doing in the community for people. So remember, as leaders, we also want to make sure that we're following, we're connecting, we are connecting to people who are also doing the work to get the bag, but what else are they doing to make sure that they're giving back to the community and the people?
Oh, that's good. That's good. So Tyrus, talk to me, right? And so for those of you on Instagram right now, right? So Aisha was talking about just the work in the community that he's done, right? Like it's not just about the bag, like it's not just about making money, right? So for those of y'all listening, if y'all not in there right now, just go and hop in. I'll put the link right at the bottom of here. So Tyrus, talk to me. What kind of touched you on Mark Cuban?
So, man, I have been following Mark Cuban for years and years and years. And the immediate thing that I like about him is like in the Titanic, they say, oh, that's new money. So Mark Cuban is new money. He's not born into it. It was not passed down. He worked to get everything that he has. So he has a different outlook. I mean, Mark Cuban was one of the original, I ain't wearing a suit and tie. I'm just not doing it. I'm not sitting in meetings all day. It's not productive. But what I really like most about Mark Cuban is he takes ownership as the leader. And oftentimes in business, whether we're the owner or we're the leadership team, we blame other people for mistakes that happen or, oh, we didn't know about it. But I was listening to an interview that Damon John did, and they asked him who was one person that he kind of looked up to who kind of gives him advice. And he said, Mark Cuban. And he said the reason was um, it was maybe a year or two, could be a little bit more. The sexual assault things went on in the Mavericks. And so what happened was Mark Cuban immediately stepped in and he was like, we got to correct this. We got to fix this. And he told Damon John, he said, no matter how big you get, no matter what level you're on, if it's your organization, you have to keep your finger on the pulse. You have to know what's going on. You're responsible, nobody else. So I appreciate and I like that about Mark Cuban because he took ownership. Of course, he is so far removed from everything that happens, but he took ownership to say, you know what, this is my issue. And he gave that advice to another multi millionaire. No matter how big you get, you still own it. You still have that responsibility to make sure it's all going over. And then, with social justice, he had the interviews where he talked about, with white privilege. And he said, even whether you agree or not, at least start to have the uncomfortable conversations whether you agree or not. So, as a leader, as a business owner, as a billionaire, this is a man who will still sit down and have a conversation about what he can do better, where he can grow. And that's just what I like most about Mark Cuban. He's always growing. He's a little rough around the edges with the way he speaks, but he'll take a fine fast. He don't mind paying them. But that's what we need in leadership. We need people who are kind of against the grain a little bit, that don't just conform. He could easily say, you know what? I'm a multi-billionaire. I'm a white male. I'm at the top. I can sit in with other circles and I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to go get Delonte West up off the street. He could have sent somebody or he could have sent a little bit of money. But for him to do it himself, it just shows that it's much bigger than money for him.
Yeah, and so that's something that is big, right? So when you think about when you reach that level, it's like, yo, I don't have time to go pick up Delonte West, right? Like I don't have time to go pick this man. He could easily say, I mean, I gave you the money when you were playing, so what did you do with it? That sounds like a personal problem, right? But that's true leadership. And so for the folks on Instagram right now, something that Tyrus brought up was just the 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 way that Damon John said, he's also helping me. He's touching my life. Like I look up to him. And that's the thing, iron sharpens iron, right? So when one person reaches a certain level, like when one person takes it to a different level, typically they're like, man, I'm not taking advice from this person. We're kind of equals at this point. You don't have anything to teach me. And so, for him to say that Mark Cuban is somebody that he still looks up to or still like gets mentorship or advice from, that's big for me. And so the thing for me is one thing that stood out to me is Shark Tank. There's a lot of sharks out here who just want to take your money, right? So you'll be on a live, you'll be on a webinar or whatever, and you know it's coming. And they're like, yep, you just about to pitch me this thing. And or you're sitting in a seminar and it's like, it's not $30,000 today. If you go to the back of the room, you can get it for $1,500. You'll never see this price after this or whatever, right? But the thing is, for Mark Cuban, I have literally watched Shark Tank and seen him say, nah, you got it. Like, I'm not even going to offer you a deal, right? I'm not even going to give you a deal because you already got it. You don't need me. Maybe just hit me up. I've seen him say that on the show one time. He said, you know what? Here's my number. Go ahead and message me on the side because I don't want to invest money and take anything away from you. That takes a level of leadership, a level of character to not pounce on a situation and take advantage of somebody. I've seen him on shows say that's not the deal that you want, right? They cut the deal and he's truly invested into this person. He's truly put himself in these people's shoes, even going back to paying his employees, right? A lot of CEOs, they were just furloughing people. So they were just like, hey, we just gotta cut ties right now. You come back whenever we start making money again. But he was like, you know what? Step out of this, step into their shoes. They have bills to pay. Let's pay them, right? And the thing is, once they come back, guess who's invested? The people who were getting paid. So yeah, I wanted to highlight some positive things because a lot of times we talk about leadership and it's just in the negative and how do we fix it, right? But let's pivot from there. So the big topic of discussion today, right? Google. Google has a lawsuit going on. For those of you who don't know, Google has a lawsuit against them, basically saying that they're monopolizing themselves. So the first question I have, just to give people a rundown before I ask the question though, basically they're being said, hey, you're loading these apps up into phones without giving people choices, right? Like you're harming the competition, you prevent rivals from getting to a better place, right? You're paying billions of dollars, Apple, LG, Motorola, Samsung, to put yourself on the forefront of this. So I'm gonna start with Tyrus on this one, right? In the process of building your business, in the process of putting your systems and everything in place, is this just good business or I mean, if you have a vision this big, is it good business? Is it innovation, or is it just something that's real shady on the backside that people need to be aware of?
So that's a great question. And it's a hard one to answer because when you look at it from just the top layer, that's good business. I mean, you have positioned yourself and revolutionized searching. I mean, they're not the only search engine, but the change they made and everything they have done innovation wise makes them the top dog. And so when people look at that, we have gotten used to Google for our searches. That's why they control 80% of the market in general search queries. On the back end, when you begin to look at it, okay, is it manipulative? Are they really controlling people? Do we have another choice? And when they preload their apps and they pay Android or Apple or other developers to preload where you can't remove it, then it's almost like, okay, now they're forcing me to use their product in a slight way because now they say that, we don't force people to use it. You can always go to Bing or the old Lycos, or you can always go somewhere else and do your search. However, we know that people like to follow the path of least resistance. So if Google is sitting up on the front, I'm going to use Google. Why would I go around and try to figure out another way to browse? And so when you look at it in that manner, one, they are doing business for themselves to be profitable. So they are doing good business. However, if they truly aren't giving people a choice and they're making it, it's almost like a nudge. I'm going to nudge you in the direction I want you to go in. I'm not full out manipulating you, but I'm kind of pushing you. It's like when you have children, you give them two choices. They can pick either choice, but the choices are what you determine and set up. So it's kind of tipped in your favor because they're going to only choose what you give them. And that's what I feel like is going on with Google. That's what the government is recognizing. They're saying, okay, you control 80% of the market. That's too much. How can we let other people get in and have a piece of that pie?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
and
you
I
got,
mean,
actually? What you got? I know I see the wheels turning up there.
yeah, because just like Tyrus, it is a difficult one because as business leaders, our goal is to be the first on the mind, right? That top of mind awareness. I need you to go to Google first. I need you to go to my app first. I need you to go to my store first. I need you to purchase my service first. So I understand the competitive side of it. And then on the aspect of, again, when you're starting to bring government and the other entities who are thinking about the good for the people in that nation, they're thinking, okay, we want to make sure business owners have opportunities. We want to make sure that everybody can have an opportunity to be seen. So on that aspect, I can understand, because that is the function of those government agencies. The function is for them to make sure that the masses are about, because again, entrepreneurship is a big thing. You want to make sure that the masses have the opportunity to, have an opportunity as well to flourish in these different industries. So I'm this is one of those things that we talked about it a little bit last week, Tyrus. We're just like, I can understand how, as a business leader, you want to be the one everybody goes to. But on the second hand, as we were talking about before we hopped on live, is if you are going to have an alternate service, if you know that you have a search engine that is the bomb, or you think it's the bomb, make sure it's the bomb. Because the reality is, I have utilized other services and it's been like, So for instance, the military, a lot of us use Internet Explorer. That is the go-to that we utilize for a lot of the applications that we use. Well, unfortunately, Internet Explorer was not functioning in the same capacity as Google Chrome was. So I found myself utilizing Google Chrome more often than using Internet Explorer, even though I still had to use both because it was attached to a lot of the applications that I was using in regards to the military systems that I needed to have access to. But the interesting thing is they have done some updates in regards to some of the sites. Like one of the things, I'm about to start my graduate program. So there is a educational site that I go to. That's where I put in my request for tuition assistance so they can pay for my classes and so on. Well, they just upgraded it. And because they upgraded it, it no longer is supported by Internet Explorer. Why?
Mhm.
Because again, Google Chrome is on a different level. Like they merge better with that system. And there's another system that I just realized it no longer merges with Internet Explorer. So I had to copy the link and take it to Google Chrome. So if you're going to say that, listen, I want to have an opportunity and you want to put it out there, make sure that you identify and find out what is it that makes Google Chrome the best, or what is it that makes that other business the one that everybody runs to? What's going to make me stand out? What's going to make me different? What's going to make me more innovative? So if I do have that door open for me, when people do finally go to my, Bing.com or Yahoo.com or whatever it is, it's going to be on point. But that's the other side of it. And again, I can understand when a piece of like the competitiveness. I want to be the top dog in my industry. And now it's conflicting with other people having opportunities. So this is a tough one because it's like, I see both sides. And I can understand the government trying to ensure that other people do have the choice. And that's the biggest thing. I should still be able to choose what search engine I want to utilize, what place I want to go purchase from, what app I want to download, versus it being forced on me. And I think that part is one of the areas that the consumer needs to have control of. Give them the choice to choose versus, yes, be strategic, but still give them the choice to choose and say, hey, you can go elsewhere if you want. But just know when you go to this Internet Explorer, I ain't going to be mad when you come back running to me because I know my service is on point. So I see both sides.
Yeah, and so I mean that's the thing is right. Everybody wants choices. Everybody wants to be able to choose that, right? Like especially in Texas, like they just like I got a right to do whatever I want to do, right? Like I got choice. I'm gonna make my choices. That is my right to be able to do that. But one of the things I want to think about too is I got a little bit of that dog in me. So I'm just like, look, if you can't keep up with me, that's not my fault. But so something that and I don't know this who they're working with or what the statistics behind it are. I'm curious to know whether Google is actually working with other tech companies to try to uplift them or like pushing other people to the forefront also, because yes, they may be, because with me having a dog inside of me, I'm like, we can all still win. You just probably not going to be better than me because I'm still working at it, right? So that's the thing is like, is Google pushing people to the forefront to say, hey, you can also win. You also keep a level of status or a level of success in your own business. And I think about them partnering. I mean, they're doing clean energy products. They're doing, I think one was with Apple and Microsoft, also with the big tech giants. where they're also partnering with these people to say, hey, we want more clean energy, right? So that's the thing. Are they pushing other tech companies to go up or down? I guess the lawsuit will tell us whether or not that's an actual thing. But yeah, I get it that you should have a choice. But to be honest with you, when I go to Bing, I'm like, you didn't give me what I want. When I go to Yahoo search, I'm like, yeah, you also didn't give me what I wanted, right? And so that's the thing. Is like I always end up going back to Google. Even for jobs that I've had, currently we use, Internet Explorer. What is it, Edge right now? So we use that, and I'm just like, please let me use my own computer so I can use Chrome, right? So that's the thing. Other things for me that I'm considering is, when you're talking about uploading, they talked about the app stores and all this other stuff in Android phones, like specifically Samsungs and whatnot. I don't know any other app stores outside of Apple and Google. So when I'm loading these apps up into my phone, right? I have a Samsung S9, right? When I'm loading the apps up into it, I'm like, where else would I go to actually get apps? I don't really know what other places. So that tells me maybe there's a lack of communication for other, app store areas that you can find for you to be able to find these things. But I guess so that will let us pivot into like, how do we ensure that, because we have these visions, we have these dreams, right? We have this even in acting lead, right? Like we want to be the face of, like, if you need leadership fixed, right? If you need a process, a system, you need to increase your emotional intelligence, right? You trying to build a team, right? A culture, acting lead is the person. So how do we avoid this when you have such a big vision? And I'm gonna kick this off to Tyrus again because I think this is more of his alley. How do you avoid things like this when you have such a big vision, and then all of a sudden the government themselves are like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't own the whole marketplace. That's not my fault. I'm good.
I want to back up just a little bit to what Aisha was mentioning about the people having the choice, and that's Google's. That's their whole argument, their defense. People still have a choice. They're not forcing anybody to utilize their service. And Corey, to answer your question, I think with our vision, we want to be number one in the world. We want to be the best when it comes to those areas. So if we do snap up market share, we're not telling people don't come to us. We just deliver a service and a product that's so robust, people come. When I get on Google to do a search, it's so simple. I don't have to try to figure it out. The web page is never down, it's never laggy. It doesn't have the issues that IE, Firefox, and others, and Firefox has been coming up lately. It doesn't have the same issues. So when you deliver an unparalleled service, people are going to come to you. The email is just better. The Google for Business, their apps are just better. They took a different process, a different path, and made everything better. And now these other companies are mad because, okay, now I can't get people to get a Yahoo account anymore, or MSN account, or a Hotmail account. It's because you weren't innovative. And when I think about developers and people on the back end that develop these apps, develop these systems, like your web pages, your things that work with these browsers, they're looking for ease of use. So if I can utilize Chrome as a browser and I can develop my app and make it work well easily, that's what I'm gonna use. If it's got to be difficult, that's why you have your Android fans and you have your Apple fans. Apple doesn't let you just do anything on their product. They control it. So for your people who want to do different, they go to Android. Now Apple can't be mad and be like, "Well, why are these people going over there?" Well, because you don't give them development freedom. So for us, as we build our business and build our consulting agency, if we deliver a robust product, I don't feel the government should be able to step in and say, "Hey, you guys are doing it too big. Calm it down. Let's give somebody else some opportunity." They have opportunity. They just have to take it.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
through.
and
Come
that's,
through.
and I mean, it's real. What you got? What you got on that, Aisha?
Yeah, I mean, and even with the aspect of like in partnership. So if Apple has identified like is that Google is the best, and I want to make sure my consumers have the best experience, then I too am thinking it from that perspective. Okay, again, with partnerships, what we've been talking about in regards to partnerships. When we partner, we want to make sure we partner with the best, right? We want to make sure that the collaboration is effective, because if we come together and we're all gurus in our spaces, when it comes to connecting with the consumer and providing them with that experience, I know when Corey's talking about employee engagement, it's going to be amazing. I know when Tyrus is talking about systems, it's going to be amazing. I know when Aisha talks about emotional intelligence, leadership development, or when we all talk about it, it's going to be amazing. So if I want that, I'm going to again partner with the client, or excuse me, partner with someone else that provides that service. So when someone does go to the Google, excuse me, when they do go on the internet provider, they have that amazing experience. So I can understand from the aspect of, okay, if I do have a cell phone company, I want to make sure I collaborate with the best of the best, because that adds to the experience, that adds to that whole package that I am putting together in that phone that's $1 million. So you have to understand that perspective as well. And I can understand what Tyrus is saying. It's just like, I want to be the number one in the world, and we want to be the best in the world. So for someone to step in and say, whoa, listen, you can't have the number one spot, or this is, you can have the number one spot, but it has to look this way. It's one of those things where it's just like, okay, I get it. Again, because you have these agencies and they're trying to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. But essentially, if those other companies had an opportunity to be number one, would they take it? So you have to see that aspect as well. When you're partnering with someone or you're partnering with another company, are they the best? What have they showed that they're the best? Because essentially that's going to add to the customer experience, and if the customer experience is good, then we're going to stick and continue to be partners. So I can understand the partnership aspect as well, and why you will want to connect with the best of the best. Because if the best of the best makes me look like I'm the best, then we the best. Okay, like DJ Khaled, we the best. We can all be the best. So that's another great aspect of it. And again, this is one of those like touchy situations, but I can understand how when you want to play monopoly in the area of business, you only want to partner, connect with the best, so you can take over the market.
And Corey, I got something else on that before you jump in. When we think about monopolies, we go back to the early 1900s with Standard Oil and Rockefeller. What they did was built a company, started to control the market, added other oil companies to their underneath their umbrella, so they were able to mass produce so much. Then they dropped the prices and undercut the competition, so they drove competition out of business by those practices. And so when the government looked at that, they were like, okay, this is a monopoly, because not only have you acquired your competition, the people that didn't want to come along, you cut them out because you were able to make it. It was a 71% discount from the listed rates. So they were able to just get everybody else out of business. Google hasn't done that. They don't offer anything that's so much cheaper than Yahoo or so much cheaper than MSN that you would use their product. They haven't undercut anybody on pricing or services. They just deliver a superior product. They haven't robbed anybody's choice. When they broke up Standard Oil, they created 34 different companies out of that one big one. If you were to break up Google today, what would it look like? Because last week when we talked about Facebook, if we were breaking up Facebook, you can get back Instagram, you can get Oculus, can go back to their VR world. You can separate some parts of Messenger. So Facebook can be broken up and taken apart to different companies. But when you look at Google, it's just them. Now, that's not to say that they haven't snapped up or brought up some technology companies or hired some people on to make them stronger, but those companies we weren't even aware of. We don't even know their product. So it's not like they took something that was established like a IG and then bought them out and rolled them into their services. So I truly don't think that Google has a monopoly in the true sense of what an illegal monopoly is. I think they just offer a great service, and they bring the people in.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. So while y'all were talking, I was actually doing a search on the side, right? So I brought up Google, Bing, and Yahoo. And so one of the things, just for the people to know, right? So when we're talking about what's the superior product, what's the thing that I prefer to go to, we live in an age where people want it today. We want it right now. So here's the thing. So I typed in, because I said I didn't know it, right? I typed in, how does Google help other tech startups? So as I'm looking at this, when I go to Google, it immediately says Google runs and partners with leading co-working spaces, accelerator programs, and events to help startups do what they do best. And then boom, there's a link right here that says startup community to provide mentorship, Google for startups. I went to Yahoo. I typed in the same exact thing. How does Google help with tech startups? All it says is how to get funding for your startup, Google startups. And underneath it says, get to know Google's AI focused venture fund, right? I go to Bing. It said, I typed in the exact same thing again. It said how to get funding for your startup, Google startups. It's the same, get to know Google's AI venture fund, right? So when we look at those three things, which one would I go to? I would prefer Google because you gave me the direct link for me to say, yep, this is the link to my community, right? And so that's also something that on the flip side, I want people to start thinking about is when you have the ease of use, how many people are going to come to you, right? Because right now, I don't really care what Bing and Yahoo have to say. I got the direct link to where Google is telling me, come here. That way you can get your stuff fixed, right? I did it again, right, with the top search engines right now. Or I said, I literally typed in other search engines other than Google. And so what I got was on Yahoo, on Google, it popped up at the top. It says 17 great search engines that you can use instead of Google. On Yahoo, it just gave me a list 1 through 5 of Bing, Yandex, CC Search, Swiss Cows, DuckDuckGo. Never heard of these places in my life. And then I typed it in Bing, and it said the same thing. It said Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, Ask, and Baidu. So now we have two websites conflicting with each other. We got some stuff that I ain't never even heard of before. But here's one thing though. Bing and Yahoo actually gave you an immediate pop-up that said these are the top search engines other than Google right now. So I guess we can play with the idea that maybe they are kind of taking that step back, because we're not going to highlight that type of stuff because that's my business, right? Because when I look at Yahoo, when I look at Bing, it's like a smack dab in the front, 1 through 5. This is the other places that you can go. However, again, superior product. Who is DuckDuckGo? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure why I would use that to try to figure this out, right? To figure out what I need. So I guess let's segue into the next question. So we know that, once your vision is this big, you have the superior product and whatnot. I guess let's dive down into it. Let's play Google. So we're Google in the moment. We built this company and people are saying, you know what, you're so good that you're the monopoly right now. I guess I'll kick it off to Aisha first. Like, what's the first step that we take to say, no, we're not. We're not a monopoly. Actually, we're trying to uplift people. We're trying to put people in different places.
But are they not a monopoly? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Listen, it is the monopoly game. Like, you're trying to dominate. You're trying to be that go-to person. But essentially, everyone does have a choice. Yes, there's a level of convenience. So when I go on my phone and the first thing that comes up is this, I'm going to go and utilize that. And even, oh, okay. All right. Don't know what just happened there.
I'm really not sure what happened.
Okay. All right. But anyway, as I was saying, so I'm going to go with familiarity. What's going to pop up first? And then of course, now when it is time, because I've been utilizing other apps or other things, and it'll give me the option. Do I want to utilize Google Chrome? Do I want to utilize, and the interesting thing is, like, even with Google Chrome on the app, right? I'm gonna go to Safari on my iPhone versus going to Google Chrome because I like Safari, and Safari has that interconnection with Google Chrome. So even for Apple phones, they have that aspect where I'm like, I'm not going to Google Chrome because it doesn't move and function like I want to. I would even utilize on my Apple phone the Gmail. There's not an app, but they have the Mail app embedded in it. It has a collaboration with Gmail. So then I go into my settings, set that up versus using the Google Mail app because it doesn't function the same way. So again, this business, and it is a game of monopoly. It is a game of trying to be the person that, dominates the space. But again, essentially, I think that on the backside, what they're doing, if they're offering services to support other up and coming tech companies, if they're doing things to provide, guidance and support for other entrepreneurs out there, so they can have an understanding of how to dominate, how to be leaders. I think that's a great way to give back. It's a great way to provide service. And again, I'm one of those individuals where it's like it's your individual choice. It's up to you as a business leader. It's up to you as a leader in an organization, because this also applies to leaders in the organization. It's up to you if you decide that I'm going to take over, I want to be the top dog, and I don't want to help anybody and give them any information. You can do that. That is fine. But when it comes to purpose, legacy, community, when it comes to giving back, I think that's essential. Being a transformational leader, I think it's extremely important to educate and help those that's coming behind you to really know about the ins and outs of business. And yes, they might have to invest time, they might have to, volunteer, which might essentially still help your business. So I think that aspect is important. But essentially, as a leader, it's it's going to be, or as a business, you want to dominate, you want to take over. I don't see anything wrong with it, but essentially, what are you doing to make sure that you're bringing other people behind you? What are you doing to make sure that people are leveling up? What are you going to do to give back to the people and support them so they can have that understanding of how to get there and how you got there? And I think that's truly effective legacy and truly being effective as a business leader, by also educating people who might not have access to the same resources, the same minds as you have. So, I think, if you think about a step one, find ways where, yes, dominate. Like, there's nothing wrong with dominate. It's all a game, right? But essentially, what are you going to do to help people who might not have the resources, that might not have the data, or they might not have the support, and really help educate them so they can understand what it's going to take and the actual actionable steps that's going to take for them to hopefully get to the level where you have gotten to.
All right, so what we thinking? I see some wheels turning up there.
Just some fire information. That was me. I was actually looking at Alphabet as the whole company, over a billion users. You got Google, you got YouTube, you got Android. So when I clicked on the YouTube, somebody's video popped up and just started playing. So that's my bad. Yeah, that's my bad. But what I was looking at was how Alphabet is now the parent company of Google and these other smaller companies. And one of their models is to do speculative things in a crazy way. They bet on things that other people don't bet on. And I think that's what made them different from, i.e., Yahoo. They tried to stay that or they tried to stay right in the middle of what they were good at that time, which was email. And Yahoo had chat and they had groups, but they weren't really big on innovating, and that's kind of why they got left behind. And so, Alphabet as a company is just trying to innovate. I mean, they're even looking at drone delivery, which is Amazon's thing. When you think of drone delivery, you think about Amazon, but they're already working on that as well. And I think as leadership, like Aisha was saying, it's up to them to decide how big they want to go, where they want to take their vision, what they want to do. And when you have aggressive leadership like Google, you're gonna do things that step on other people's toes, because they're gonna be like, why can't Google just stay in their role? Why can't they just stay small? Or why can't they just do it this small area? So I feel like, in a sense, when the government talks about monopoly and we're gonna break you up or we're gonna stop you, Google's stepping on some toes. They're moving in a direction where the people who are looking at them from the outside don't really understand, and they're growing. They're successful at it. It'll be different if they did it and failed. If YouTube never became what it became, then there would be no question. But now we know that YouTube, besides Google, is the other number one search engine in the world. Is where everybody goes to see their videos. Is where everybody goes to upload their content and really download some stuff. So before YouTube, what was it? Where do we go to get videos and all these things, how to's? I mean, you had to go in the grocery store and buy a how to manual, how to fix your toilet from Home Depot. But now you can get right on YouTube, do that same thing, put your toilet name in, and there's somebody fixing it. So they have innovated just in a place where other people have ignored. They took it and put it all in a central location, one place where you can go research, learn, and grow. And I think that's what people need. That's what people want. And until other industries or other competitors start doing it, why even complain about them having a monopoly? I mean, you're not doing it. I can't come to you to get it. There's nowhere, I don't know anywhere else you can go to watch videos, motivational, how to, educational, podcasts, anything that tickles your fancy. Where can you go get it besides YouTube? It doesn't exist. So why complain about, oh, they control over 80% of the share? Well, they're the only ones doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things, and I'm just trying to put myself in Google's shoes, right? Is I'm sure there's been some market research done, right? I'm sure, especially with the deal that they have with Apple, right? If I'm paying you money, there's probably a reason that I'm paying you money, right? And so for us, it's like, okay, cool. Department of Justice, here's my information. I conducted a search. I asked my customers, right? We do that a lot of social media. I asked my customers what they wanted. They came back to Google. So why should you hurt me because people just keep coming back to me, right? So now I have to pay the price because I have the superior product, and realistically Google has become a lifestyle brand, right? So when you say to go search it, they say, hey, go Google that. They don't go say go Bing that, go Yahoo that, go whatever, right? They say go Google it, right? But here's the same thing. When you think about Coke, a lot of places, especially down in the South, a Coke could mean Sprite, Dr. Pepper, Dr. Check, Dr. Thunder. It can mean whatever, right? Right? It can mean ginger. I think the only thing, and y'all correct me if I'm saying this right or not, the only thing that a Coke might not be referred to as is ginger ale. Y'all tell me if I said that right. Is it ginger ale or ginger ale?
Oh,
But but look, but check this out. So here's the thing. So if they're doing research, if Apple got together with their people, if Microsoft got together with their people, if whoever got together with their people, and they said, well, this is who we want because we want a superior product. And especially Apple, if you think about it, we want it to be ease of use. We want it to be the innovative, the line pushing type of thing, right? I'm gonna go with Google because when my people turn their phone on, and I thought about my Android when I first bought my Samsung, you don't get Google Chrome in there. You get internet something. It's like internet browser, I think it's called. I then go ahead and download Google Chrome because that's what I prefer. So that's the thing. I mean, that would be my argument if I'm in this situation. I'm like, hey, look, here's the data, here's the research on why we continue to do what we do because these companies are coming to us to tell us this, right? There's no way that a company says, hey, your product's not really that great, but we'll just continue to put it in our phones. Something that I was thinking about too, though, was Google also has to pivot in this situation because they've been fined before, right? So the UK fined them about $9 billion. So depending on whatever happened in that situation and what that fine was, we have to be smart enough to be able to pivot to say, you know what, if the UK got us, what decisions do we need to make? What pivots do we need to make for people to not be like, oh, well, it's a monopoly, they're taking over everything, right? And so I guess that's my take on this. I guess that's my feel on whether or not, am I a monopoly or not? I just think that at a certain point in time when you're good, right? Could we call and this I guess we'll segue into this next question. When we think about monopolies, is it simply because someone else hasn't risen to that level, right? It's not my fault. So for people who don't know, Microsoft owns Bing. Microsoft is $1 billion company. Why isn't Bing just as strong as Google? Yahoo is a big company. Why isn't Yahoo search just as big as you know what I mean? So that's the type of thing that I want to bring to the forefront because, and just pivoting this conversation, I thought about it when I said Coke. When you think about the soft drink distributors, candy distributors, chip distributors, um, um, I think it's like skincare distributors. There ain't but like 5 of them.
right.
And so when you think about those, you think about Mars bars, right? You got all these other candies, they're all from Mars, right? You think about Coke, they're all from this, right? You think about Pepsi. Like you go to a store, is it a monopoly because KFC struck a deal with Pepsi for their drinks, which I'm not too privy to Pepsi, but Is it different that McDonald's has Coke products inside of their thing, right? Is it different that, so what are your thoughts on that? I'm gonna kick it over to you, Aisha, on what's your thoughts on even that aspect to it? Because is Google getting picked on because these other companies who are billion-dollar companies just aren't as good? Or is it a true monopoly? Because even if you look at other places like Mars and Coke and Pepsi and General Mills and stuff like that, when we think about products, to be honest with you, if I want Fruit Loops, I can get Fruit Loops or I can get Dino Bites. But guess what? Them Dino Bites is still from General Mills. So, what are they getting picked on, or is it truly a monopoly?
It sounds like there's a double standard because you're right. I mean, you have these companies when, like, even, I mean, there's so many companies that I figured out, like, oh, they're owned by them. Oh, that's the only place they go to make those movies. Oh, that's the only one that distributes the movies. Oh, that's the only place that, offers the popcorn that you eat. Oh, so it does sound like there's a bit of a double standard. And again, someone had to raise this issue, of course. Someone had to file the report and say, you know what they're doing is not, it's not the best. So someone had to raise the issue. But if you really assess it and look at it across the board, it is a double standard. It 100% is a double standard, and I have to agree that it is. And a company should be able to dominate, but there is also the aspect of people should, and I think everyone knows that if they don't like something, they can go and utilize another service. You two have Android phones, bless your heart. I like Apple, I'm a ride or die with Apple. It is what it is, and that's okay. Like, normally you don't even see this dynamic where you have two Android users and one Apple user. Like, that's not the norm. But either way, you guys saw that there's a quality in utilizing Android. Now, yes, are those like the dominant industries or the people that have taken over the markets? Yeah, for sure. But again, they do have the opportunity to innovate. And I think that in this game of business, you do have to go into it making sure that when you really assess and identify, that's why when we do the training, we're doing a training on Monday that you guys definitely need to sign up for. We talk about the psychology of business communication. We hop on Thursdays live and do the Q&A so we can answer your questions. We have a 12-week cohort program that's starting soon. All those little details. And within that programming and what we're talking about, we always have that conversation, and we ask those business leaders, what is it about you that stands out? What makes you different from everybody else that does this type of development, everybody else that has this service? We have to make sure that when you go into this game, you recognize there are multiple people within this industry, and we need to map out something that's going to make you unique and make you stand out. And a lot of people don't do that. They go in and say, I'm gonna just start the service, and it's like there's already hundreds of them already out there. What makes you different? Well, people need it. Well, there's again 5 people in the Rolodex that they can call that utilize it, that can provide that service. All kinds of noise going on behind the scenes, y'all. Okay, all kinds of noise. But anyway, essentially, you have to make sure that when you're going into business, when you are going into leadership, you want to make sure that you are going about it in a customized way that makes you stand out, that makes you the best, that makes you be the person that people want to hire. Even when you're going to apply for a job, right? And you're trying to get to the next leadership level, what are you going to do? You want to dominate within that organization. You want to show out, you want to stand out. And people are like, man, every time you apply for a job, you always get it. Why? Because you have stood out. There's something unique about you versus every other application that those people see. So again, I don't think anything is wrong with what they're doing. I think essentially what we can take from it as leaders, business leaders, is what are we going to do so we are the ones that people always choose for the job, people always make the CEO, people always want to work for or do business with, because you have stood out in a way and you have done it in a way that's unique and also produces results.
Oh, that's fire. That's good. And when we think about it, and Corey, you did bring up a great point. When you think about certain candy, certain products, 1, 2, or 3 individuals distribute those. And so I don't know how they get away with not being a monopoly. When I think about Yum Brands, they own KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. It's like none of these things, or very few of them, I don't want to talk in absolutes, but very few of them are owned singularly. Most of these are brands under an umbrella of somebody that owns several different things. And I think that's just the way we do business. As long as we're not undercutting competition, as long as we're not price gouging, as long as, if I think about a monopoly to be true, Verizon, Comcast, Xfinity, and DirecTV. I don't know anybody else that provides cable other than some of these smaller places that's local, but they can pretty much charge what they want because you can only go to one or the other if you want it and if you want good service. So Google is just a step ahead when we talk about innovation again. Microsoft chose to focus on Microsoft Office and Windows. They chose to push out the PC and that software. They didn't choose to focus on IE and pushing out a different product where we can go and watch videos. They chose to put everything into Outlook. And look how long it took them to put Outlook, Excel, and all that online. It used to be a disk and you had to download it and install it. You have to go through all of this. Just now, in recent times, a year or two, they started to bring it online, Office 365. They behind. Google is in the cloud. They didn't give you anything to download, which made it easier for consumers and cheaper. I mean, you can get a free Gmail account and you have Google Sheets and Google Slides, Google Hangouts. All that stuff is free. Now it's limited, but Microsoft wanted to charge you for that up front. You want Office? You got to pay for Office. You want Office 365? Now you got to pay an annual. And they finally, even with their updates and Windows 10 and moving forward, all of that stuff is online now. All of it's in the cloud. It's a subscription. And so they're catching up. So I think that as we continue to see other businesses, other companies, if you can take something from this, don't take it as, well, big companies need to look out for smaller companies. Find your competitive advantage in the marketplace. That's what you need to grow as a business. And as a leader in an organization, you always need to establish, research, and learn your competitive advantage and make sure that's out in the front. And then you won't have to worry about a company like Google snapping up the market share because you will have something that's valuable. Now, if they come and try to buy you out and then they try to bully you, then we're talking about the negative aspects of it. But if they come to you and they say, hey, you got a great product, you have a great service, we would like to incorporate that in our offerings because you're doing something that we don't do, then you have a major opportunity. I would love to create a company and sell it for a few billion and sit back.
You and me both. I think we need three multi-billion-dollar companies to come from this one thing. But here's the thing. Speaking of multiple companies, I just want to bring this to the listener, the viewers, like attention, right? And I'm just talking about Pepsi and Coke. So when I look at Pepsi, I'm looking at the largest PepsiCo brands based on 2009 retail sales, right? Number one, obviously Pepsi, but you got Mountain Dew, Lay's potato chips. I didn't even know Pepsi did food. I guess I never realized who owned the potato chips and whatnot. Um, Gatorade, Diet Pepsi, Tropicana beverages, also didn't know Pepsi did that. 7 Up, Doritos, also didn't know Pepsi did that. So y'all get the point where I'm saying, like, these brands, these are like household name brands that is owned by Pepsi. So, when you when you think about a lot of these, even down on the list, Tostitos tortilla chips, they got a whole bowl game that Tostitos funds. That's millions of dollars in football right there, right? Sierra Mist, Fritos. However, the thing is, I wanted to pivot over to Coke, and this breaking statistic here. So it says Coke, it would take you 9 years if you tried one Coke product a day. It would take you 9 years to finish them all.
Wow.
I was like, how many products? So I think we need to get to work on creating some products. But yeah, so that's one of the things before we wrap this up that I'm thinking about. Are they being bullied? Are they not? We'll tell with time or whatever happens with this thing. But for just people to get it in their mind, when you're doing business, maybe you got to break that down into some different spots, some different sections and whatnot. That way you're not, you're not being this, I guess, monopoly is that what they want to call it, right? So just before we break it out, speaking of products, right? So I guess do we want to break news to people right now about this coaching cohort? I mean, we got a couple spots left if people want to sign up for it, right? And we're going to take you through everything. We're going to take you through emotional intelligence, how to build a team, how to build your business system, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a leader, right? You got to have a system in place, even if you walk into a building every single day for someone else, right? Presentation skills, like how do you get up in front of people and you let them know the great job that you've done, right? Or if you're not doing that great of a job, how do you spin it to say, you know what, this is my plan and this is how I'm going to do it. And then I think one of the most valuable things that we talked about, which is really underrated, is what's your story as a leader, right? We talk about a lot about entrepreneurship and what's the story, and this person grew up and came from nothing to something. What about within your company? What story are you telling within your company, right? Think about the mailroom, the CEO. What's your story? So yeah, so go to Act and Lead. Send us an email at the bottom. You can see info at Act and Lead at actleadconsulting.com, right? Go to the website. Send us a text message. Like, give us a call, right? Somebody's ready to answer your question for you, give you the right direction on where you need to go. Again, we got limited spots available. So I think we'd have 3 spots left, something like that. 3 spots.
Tree.
So we got 3 spots left. And that's going to kick off. We're going to kick that off. Somebody correct me on the date. When are we starting?
Middle of November.
All right. So
15th.
Yep. So November 15th, we'll be kicking that off for y'all. And I mean, it's going to be fire on this group, right? So we are going to push out valuable people into society from this. So y'all sign up for that. Before we go out, is there any last words? Anything that y'all want to leave the people with?
No, I mean, again, just remember that if you are going to have like, man, they taking over, like, I don't get why they doing that. Like, they need to like think about everybody. Again, I understand that, but essentially, does your product, service, experience, does it match up to who you're complaining about? Is it at that level or is it beyond it, right? So you have to make sure that you come with the fire, make sure you have your systems, your processes together. And of course, again, connect with us if you want to be a part of that cohort, regardless of what level you are in business. Maybe you need to revamp, you need to make some changes. Maybe you're an emerging entrepreneur or an emerging leader, and you want to figure out what you can do to make sure that you are headed in the right direction so you can essentially dominate your professional career, dominate your industry. You need to be a part of it. But again, you have to make sure you are top notch. And if you aren't top notch, you need to invest in the things that's going to help you get to where top notch is.
And for me, when we just think about as businesses innovate, as they grow, as they have vision, these companies that are where they are because they have vision and they weren't scared to step out on faith or on that limb or whatever you want to call it and chase that dream, that vision. Google did not want to be another Microsoft. They don't want to be another Yahoo. They don't want to be another MSN. They don't want to be another Lycos, another Netscape Navigator. They don't want to be another one of those. They wanted to be their own, and they brought a product to the market that met demands. You can't take a person's, or if I'm a business, I can't take another business's clients unless I'm giving or meeting a need that that business isn't meeting. So, as an entrepreneur or as a leader, you need to look at what are the needs of my clients? Am I meeting them all? And if a competitor does come up, how can I prevent them from coming and taking my clients? So, I just want to leave that thought process. Business is evolving every single day. You have to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, and I mean that's the name of the game, right? Stay ahead, stay innovating, you know, entrepreneurship, leadership. You have to stay ahead of the game, right? Like y'all know I'm all about building teams and whatnot. And you have to stay. Something that Aisha and I talked about the other day was how do you stay ahead of the game from home? Right. And then I had a session with my mentor, and he said, you know what? He said, even in these times, he said, I've seen you lead people from a virtual space, but he said your biggest skill set that you have is being in front of people. So he was like, also understand what your skill set is, right? There are some people who probably came out of their shell in the virtual space, right? There's some people who are like myself. When I'm in front of people, that's when I'm at my best. But I have to identify that. I have to know that. So don't just walk around thinking like, oh, I'm just leading, right? I'm just leading, just building a business here, just doing my thing. So yeah, always realize what your skill sets are. If you're having trouble with that, definitely get with us on the Act and Lead Insights, because we can teach you what that skill set is. So without further ado, look, this has been your Saturday Act and Lead session, right? This is the rise or fall. Before we go, I don't think we necessarily need to answer this question, but let's talk about it. Is Google gonna rise or are they gonna fall?
Rise.
Rise.
I think we're all in
Rise.
agreement. I don't think there's any falling for Google. I don't think there's anything that, they might get slapped on the hand. And to be honest with you, after I realized they paid $9 billion in a fine at one point in time, clearly that didn't affect them.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, this has been fire today. Y'all join us next week, same time on Saturday, right? Join us Monday though. Please, please, please don't forget, because this is free to y'all, right? People are paying money so y'all can have information, and this is free to everybody. Definitely sign up, right? UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio, Small Business Group. We'll be speaking about the psychology of business, right? We're going to give you the game on what you need to do to build that platform, and even take in the same principles into when you're leading people, right? So we're going to have some free resources for y'all. Definitely join us on Thursday when we do our leadership Q&A, right? We're going to give you an assessment, right? If you go to the small business group, you'll also get an assessment for that. And it's going to change the game for you. Like I've taken it myself. We've all taken it ourselves. I'm not going to give you something that I don't really believe in, because I'm not trying to waste my time on anything, right? If you're wasting my time, you're wasting my money. So definitely sign up. Check us out on Thursday, right? Check us out on Monday for sure. That's free to y'all. Thursday's leadership Q&A. And if we ain't got nothing else, we out, right?
I should take us through just real quick each one of those assessments. Break it down.
We're gonna have to mute you. We're gonna have to mute that mic. I don't know if we can get that out for free. I'm just kidding.
We just let us know what they're looking at. What will our people look at when they get a disc of values and an attributes assessment?
Wow. I mean, again, what are one of the things that we have to realize, especially as leaders and business leaders, there's a psychology of how you lead, a psychology to how you market, and now all that ties into communication. So what each one of these assessments, it provides you the why, the what, and the how. So it identifies to you specifically, okay, the what, what is your order of thought, right? How do you go against attacking problems and resolving and coming up with decisions? The next thing, it identifies the why. What is your internal motivator? What drives you and pushes you to show up every day to do what you want to do, or do what you need to do so you can execute in leadership and business? And then you have now how you show up. How do you show up when you have all those connected, or even if you have missing pieces? So now it gives you the understanding, the awareness you need to know how you're showing up as a leader in your business, in your organization. Now, on the flip side, this information is also giving you awareness of people, how they show up. It provides you that psychology piece that you need to know that, okay, I have these people that have these certain behavior styles. I know these people that have these certain type of internal motivators. I have these people who show up and this is how they make decision. So by me knowing this information, now I know how I can strategically customize my language and communication to them, so I can pivot them into purchasing, buying, having that client relationship, and also communicating with them effectively so they are a long-lasting customer or long-lasting team member. Because when we talk about retention, we want to retain members on the side of team members so they can support that mission and vision and take us to where we're at the stage where we can monopolize the business. And then on the side of the clientele, you need clients as well. So now you can retain clients and they can bring in new clients. So all those pieces is what you need so you can understand the psychology that a lot of these social media companies are using to get you to continue to swipe, look on your computer computer, this is the information you're going to get. So you don't want to miss it. You want to make sure you get those acting lead insights. You want to make sure you're signing up and registering for these programs, because it's going to take your knowledge from the IQ level to the EQ level, which is needed to dominate in your industry. Woo! That was good.
Somebody cut a mic off. Cut the mic off.
Dylon.
Top 5 coaches in the world. Aisha, and Aisha. I'm just saying.
Let's go.
But look, and just to give y'all a testimonial, right? So we had an individual join our Thursday live session, and I immediately got a message after she took the assessment. She said, "My Lord," she said, I did understand who I was, but she was like, it just changed my entire life. And I said, the number one thing that I can tell you to do is you have a business partner. Just go ahead. I think it's page 16 or 17. Just go ahead and give that to your business partner. That way y'all know how to communicate. Matter of fact, have your business partner jump on. That way we can help her out too, right? And then we really want to dive deep in that. So look, it's all about value. It's all about pushing the positivity into the community, right? So look, without further ado, before we have to start charging y'all for all this information, meet us Monday, right? What time we going? It's going to be about 11 Central.
Yep, it's 11 from 11 to 1 Central. Yep. So for your lunchtime, again, hop on, get these free resources, and really dial in, because you're going to get that psychology information that you need to take that thing to the next level.
Yeah. So look, in the words of the great Master P, right? We mixing action with leadership, but you got to be about it. We'll see y'all next week.
About it.